Look at the janitor dragged in. Did you even remember your uniform? The voice, razor sharp, sliced through the polished silence of the Zenith Tower's top floor, 71 stories above Ethel City. Serafina Vane didn't spare a glance upward as she tilted her espresso cup. The scalding liquid spilled across the glossy ebony table, instantly soaking the worn manila folder resting in Elias Thorne's lap. The 64-year-old maintenance veteran didn't flinch, didn't move a muscle, his quiet eyes just watching the brown stains bloom across the important papers he'd brought. "Oops," Serafina murmured, her smile as cold as a shard of glass. "Guess you want to mop that up before we start the real meeting." Around the massive table, junior analysts shifted uncomfortably. Except one. Chloe Davis, a fresh graduate starving for virality, discreetly raised her phone, already live-streaming the scene. A thin ripple of nervous laughter spread as the camera focused on Elias's weathered hands gently blotting the table. He said nothing. Silence clung to him like a suit of ancient armor. Serafina leaned back, her massive topaz necklace glittering. "Now that the entertainment is over," she said coolly, "let's talk about real leadership." Her gaze swept over Elias, as if he were nothing more than the stain itself. Comments exploded on Chloe's feed. "This is brutal. Why is he even there? Someone stop her." Chloe smirked. "Watch this old guy struggle," she whispered to the lens. But Elias wasn't struggling. He calmly opened a small, tattered, leather-bound notebook and began to write. His pen moved with slow, surgical precision. His cursive was deliberate, like someone who had once penned executive orders, not facility requests. Serafina noticed, but mistook it for silent, obedient submission. "Not everyone's cut out for leadership," she scoffed, tapping her presentation slides. "Some people just keep things tidy." The analyst laughed on cue, desperate to validate her cruelty. Elias looked up only once. His eyes, quiet, unwavering, met hers. The moment was fleeting, yet enough to make her falter. Something about that gaze didn't belong to a janitor. It was the calm, deep reservoir of someone who'd seen storms far greater than this room. Across the hall, Marcus Chun, Zenith Tower's head of security, leaned against the doorway. He frowned. He'd seen that face before, years ago maybe, but where? The digital clock on the wall blinked. 9:15 a.m., 8 hours until the main board review. By 1:30 p.m., the main conference room buzzed with nervous anticipation. 24 mid-level managers gathered as Serafina, now riding the high of her viral fame, smirked from the head of the table. Elias sat quietly at the far end, still in his drab uniform. "Today," Serafina announced, "we're testing instinct. Let's see what our newest recruit understands about business." Nervous laughter rippled again. Chloe took her usual corner, phone ready. Serafina leaned forward. "EBITDA." Without hesitation, Elias's calm voice filled the room. "Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. It isolates operational performance to compare companies without distortion." A few chuckles faltered. "Fine," Serafina spat, her tone sharpening. "Market capitalization?" "The total market value of a company's outstanding shares," he said evenly, reflecting investor confidence and perceived stability. The laughter stopped dead. Even Chloe lowered her phone slightly. The comments on her stream shifted. "Wait, who asked this guy? This feels off." Serafina forced a brittle laugh. "Definitions are easy. Let's test instinct." She clicked a button, projecting a complex quarterly financial report onto the wall. "Walk us through it," she challenged. Elias rose slowly. The fluorescent lights caught the faint, embossed crest on his notebook's cover. Unnoticed by most, Marcus Chen's eyes widened slightly. He recognized it. The Orion Group insignia, one of the most powerful and secretive conglomerates in the world. Elias studied the screen for less than 30 seconds, then began speaking. Operating cash flow, $47.3 million. Strong fundamentals, but financing activities showed $12.8 million in debt service. Heavy reliance on borrowed capital. And here, he pointed, a reduction of $8.2 million in investing activities. Deferred expansion, short-term cost-cutting that risks long-term growth. Silence, thick and absolute, filled the room. A senior analyst quietly nodded, genuinely impressed. Serafina's smile tightened into a grimace. "Insight doesn't equal leadership," she snapped. "Business requires instinct, energy, and, let's be honest, pedigree." Elias's voice was steady, resonating with quiet authority. Instinct is refined through decades of decision-making. Energy comes from purpose, not youth. Connections are built through respect. His gaze locked onto hers. And pedigree has nothing to do with competence. Something flickered behind Serafina's polished facade. Maybe fear. She stood abruptly, dismissing the stunned crowd. Meeting adjourned. But as she spun away, Marcus Chun stepped closer, his eyes riveted on Elias's notebook. "Sir," he said quietly, "is your last name really Thorn?" Elias met his gaze, a hint of a smile touching his lips. "It was," he said softly, "before Orion Group restructured." Marcus froze. Orion Group, the multinational titan that had once owned Zenith Tower before Serafina's corporate takeover. The legendary founder who'd vanished after a public scandal years ago. Serafina's voice broke the silence. "Marcus, what is the problem?" He didn't answer. Elias closed his notebook, tucking it neatly under his arm. "No problem at all," he said calmly. "I'm just going to check if the building still remembers who built it." Serafina blinked, utterly confused. "What are you talking about?" But Elias was already walking toward the glass doors, the strong afternoon sun blazing behind him. Chloe's phone caught the moment. The janitor leaving, the CEO's face pale and stunned, the live chat exploding with one word flashing again and again. Founder. The boardroom doors closed. And somewhere deep within Zenith Tower's highly private, encrypted server archives, a single, forgotten document began to quickly unlock. Serafina slammed her laptop shut. "Enough," she snapped. "We don't need lectures from someone who doesn't belong here." But no one moved. They had just witnessed something impossible to ignore. A man dismissed as irrelevant had spectacularly outperformed their CEO. By 4 p.m., Serafina called an emergency, hastily assembled meeting. Her voice shook with forced authority. "Mr. Thorne," she declared, "you've accessed restricted data and created a hostile work environment." Elias's calm voice cut through the tension. "Are you accusing me of misconduct? Then specify the date, the evidence." The silence was crushing. Serafina fumbled with her papers, her authority dissolving. Elias stepped forward, opening her laptop, still connected to the projector. "Get away from my computer," she cried. He continued, reading from her private, recent communications. March 15th, he read. "Another late career hire. Disaster incoming. These people don't belong in leadership." The room gasped. April 2nd. "The board's diversity obsession is undermining standards." Serafina lunged for the laptop. "This is illegal. Not when it exposes discrimination," Elias replied, quoting the law. "The Age Discrimination in Employment Act of 1967 forbids such behavior." He closed the laptop gently, then reached into his old leather notebook, pulling out a small, platinum-plated badge. "Thorne Global Holdings." Gasps filled the air. "My name is Elias Thorne," he said evenly. "Chairman of the board and owner of 61% of this company. For 6 months, I've been investigating claims of systemic age discrimination and toxicity. I wanted to see the truth myself, and I have." Marcus Chun appeared at the doorway with a tablet. "Mr. Thorne, the complete CCTV footage is ready. Every incident recorded," Elias said. "Tonight, at 6 p.m., the full board will see everything." That evening, Elias sat at the head of the boardroom table in a sharp charcoal suit. "Our culture," he stated, "has become toxic, violating dignity, law, and trust." He presented the collected evidence, the legal risks, and the $15 million in projected losses caused by her reckless short-term decisions. Serafina was brought in, trembling and defeated. "This," Elias said, "is not leadership. It is liability." The board voted unanimously. Serafina was terminated, Chloe was dismissed for ethical violations, and all department heads were demoted. A new program, the Silver Generation Fund, was launched to fully value late-career professionals. A year later, Elias addressed the employees. "This company will not be ruled by fear. We build on respect." Productivity and morale doubled. Speaking at a global conference, he ended with a final, resonant statement. "Every wrinkle tells a story. Every year adds value. Age is strength earned through time. When we honor that, everyone rises." Elias Thorne had entered as a man underestimated and left as a leader who proved that patience, integrity, and truth are the quiet weapons that change everything.